In this video, we're going to look at the difference between charges and payments in REI Master. A charge is used to move funds between ledgers in anticipation of a disbursement at a later date. A payment is used to pay someone immediately, either via cheque or a transfer of funds. You will find the charges and payments buttons showing at the top of the main screen of REI Master. The first example we're going to look at is a charge. As I say, a charge is the moving of funds between ledgers in anticipation of a disbursement at a later date. The first charge we're going to look at is an example of an invoice here. Business invoice that has been created for owner Mr. Schumacher, where we have to rehang the kitchen cupboard door. We've charged a nominal amount of $33. Okay. The owner is going to pay for this, but we're going to put a charge against his account and have the business being the recipient of those funds. To process the charge, you go to the Charges button at the top here. We're going to levy a charge against the selected property. We insert the relevant date for the charge and we nominate the recipient of the charge proceeds. So as from our first invoice that we have there, the business is going to receive those funds. From there, we brought up with a list of properties/owners. We tick the box on the right hand side here as to who we're going to charge, so Mr. Schumacher being the owner, and at the bottom here we insert the details from the invoice. $33, which includes our GST, and this is for fixing kitchen cupboard door. We then nominate the expense code. This one will be repairs and maintenance, of course. And from there we can select to apply that charge. One other thing just very quickly, one of our previous videos shows you the document management system, and we'll give you an example of how to link a document when applying a charge. Please see that video for further information. Select on that one there. We can now see that the property/owner will be charged $33, and the fact that there's no tick in the pending box here means that there's sufficient funds for this charge to be applied immediately. Save on that there. If we have a look at the owner account code or account ledger, we can see here the last transaction line there shows the charge being applied to Mr. Schumacher, i.e. $33 being deducted from his ledger. And if we have a look now at the business setup, under the account tab here we can see the $33 for repairing the kitchen cupboard door has been credited to the business ledger. This monies will then be paid out to the business as part of the next disbursement process. We haven't physically paid the business from the trust account with processing this charge. Another charge that you can apply as an example is charges in multiple amounts. The charge that we're going to apply here will be for this particular invoice from Xyz Pest Control, where they have performed some work on 3 different units and the cost per unit is exactly the same. So in this case here, a $66 amount for a total of $198 against the 3 properties. To apply that charge, we go to the Charges button. We're applying against particular properties. The recipient of this charge, of course, is Xyz Pest Control. And in this case here, we can tick multiple owners or properties and insert the individual amount. You'll see here that the expense code has been automatically filled in. This has come about from the setup of the supplier, where we nominated the default account code for Xyz Pest Control. Select on there and you will see then that 3 owners will be charged $66 each, for a charge amount of $198 in total. Again, the owners have sufficient funds for that charge to be applied immediately. Save on that charge there, and if we would have a look at each of the owners' account codes, account ledgers, we should see on there, in fact, Mr. Alonso, we come in here, Jensen Button, the owner of Siesta Lane, $66 charge. Michael Schumacher, the owner of 55 Oberstrasse, again a $66 charge. And Mr. Weber,
owner of number 2 Hilltop, a $66 charge showing there. Now the recipient was of course our How's That Pest Control supplier. If we have a look at the supplier there and have a look at their account ledger, they now have 3 amounts of $66 showing on there. Again, they haven't been physically paid as yet, as we have just built up some monies in order to pay them at a later date. So we have looked there at a charge. The next thing we're going to look at is a payment, where you're going to physically pay someone here and now by either transferring funds from your trust account or writing out a check and handing it over to them. Our last example that we're going to look at here is a tax invoice from Xyz Plumbing for supplying and installing a hot water system to Mr. Schumacher's property. The amount of the invoice, $990 including GST. If we go back into REI Master, we're going to do a payment. We're going to do an electronic payment as opposed to a check payment. And our payee, of course, will be Xyz Plumbing. We're drawing funds from the owner ledger and Mr. Schumacher here. In order for you to process a payment from an owner, you must ensure that the figure at the bottom here, under balance if all deductions applied, is more than enough to account for the payment. In our case, $990 including GST. This owner certainly has sufficient funds available. So this one is replacing the hot water system. Again, we're going to put it under repairs and maintenance. We can OK on that one there. We are exceeding our spending limit, of course. We say yes or no in order to proceed. We can see here now that the $990 payment will be made to Xyz Plumbing on behalf of Mr. Schumacher, and that on saving of that there, we will now need to get onto our internet banking and do a transfer of funds from the trust account to Xyz Plumbing. The nomination, or how you can see that that payment is to be made, of course, in our reconciliation screen. If I scroll down to this particular transaction here, we can see then a $990 debit to Xyz Plumbing from the trust account, of course. Once we transferred those funds and we can see that transaction on our statement, we're able to assist us with our balancing there. So the two things we've looked at here today are charges and payments. A charge is transferring of funds between two ledgers in order to disperse that monies at a later date, and a payment is a physical payment of monies to a particular person or company via a cheque or a transfer of funds from the trust account.